All right, guys. So today I decided to talk about some of the staff changes that Alabama and USC made this offseason, well, this past offseason, uh, and see how that would impact the game that's coming up soon, September 3rd. And I singled out four people, two for Alabama, two for USC. I will start with the two USC staff members that have changed. The first one is T. Martin for USC. He's the offensive coordinator as of this year. He was promoted to offensive coordinator at the end of the 2015 season. And beforehand, he was serving as the wide receivers coach for USC since 2012, and he overlooked a lot of the great ones they've had come out in recent years, like Marcus Lee and so forth, Robert Woods, and all those guys. Uh, with that, though, he has a decorated career. He started at quarterback for Tennessee Volunteers when they won a national championship in 1998. He's coached at various places since then. But this is his first year being an offensive coordinator for any team. First year calling plays for USC. And that may have an impact on their season this year. Uh, we don't know how he is as an offensive coordinator, how balanced he is, what type of plays he'll be calling, the situational things. All those things that go into factors into being an offensive coordinator. And one article brought up a point that said we'll see if that dynamic between him and Hilton plays out because Hilton was a play caller too, so we'll see if he maybe steps in and tries to take over calling plays. We'll see how that works out. That hasn't been talked about a lot, so that's something to keep your eye on. Also, this is one of the more interesting ones. I didn't know about it until recently this summer. USC hired Neil Callaway to be their offensive line coach. That is pretty big. Neil Callaway, if you don't know him, he used to be the offensive coordinator of Georgia in the early 2000s, but then I know him I'm from Alabama, and there's a University of Alabama at Birmingham, or otherwise known as UAB, the Blazers, who had their football program shut down a couple years ago, but then it came back, and a lot of story going on there. But he was the head coach there from '07 to 2011. And one of the more underrated, he didn't win a lot. I think he had 18 wins total. But one of the more underrated aspects about his team and about his coaching is that every year their offensive line played really well and they did their job, and you can see it. They had Joe Webb during that time and a few others in, but the offensive line was pretty consistent because I believe of his coaching and his influence. He did a very great job of doing it. Everywhere he's been a great offensive line coach because after his tenure at UAB, he went to Western Kentucky where he's the offensive line coach, and they did great and they blocked for some of the most prolific passing offenses in Western Kentucky history. And so now he's moved on to USC. And I'm assuming that he's going to, as his track record shows, he's going to come in and he's going to make USC's offensive line be better. At least that's their hope. We'll see how the USC linemen adjust to Neil Callaway's coaching. Keep your eye on that. Watch the USC offensive line. Also, now moving on to Alabama, we had a change in defensive coordinator. Of course, it was getting a lot of national attention. You probably know more about this. Kirby Smart, our former defensive coordinator, who's been with Saban at Alabama since he first got there, he received the head coaching job of Georgia, and so he's moved on to coach Georgia now. And not only that, but he took along with him our defensive backs coach, Mel Tucker, who was in the NFL before then. And Mel Tucker did a great job coaching our defensive backs. They played in some of the best ways that I've seen since Saban's been there. Mel Tucker really did a great job, and Kirby Smart has been a great coordinator in the orchestra of that defense for the past few years. So that was a big loss. One of the more underrated things about our hire is that we brought in Jeremy Pruitt, who some people tend to forget. He was with Alabama from '07 to 12. And so he knows the defensive system. He was under Smart. He was under Saban. So he's bringing that back. He left us to go to Florida State, where he was the defensive coordinator. And they won a national championship that year, where they were getting up only 12 points a game. Then he moved on to Georgia, where he was the defensive coordinator last year. And they led the league in pass defense, which is really good. And now he's with Alabama. And so I'm assuming it won't be there won't be too much change, too much shakeup there. But anytime you bring in a new coach, there's always transition. There's always the players getting used to that. There could be things in there that we don't see, and there could be factors that influence the defense this year. I don't think so, but there could be. Also, along with him, we had to get a new defensive backs coach. So we picked up Derek Ansley, who also was a defensive assistant with Alabama a few years ago before he coached at Kentucky as a defensive backs coach and a cornerbacks coach at Tennessee. And he was going to be the Kentucky defensive coordinator until Alabama called and asked him to be the defensive backs coach there. And so Saban obviously trusts Derek Ansley. He doesn't really, he has a hard time going out there and getting coaches based on his personality and how he likes to keep things within his coaching tree. People he can trust. So the fact that he went out and got Derek Ansley was a pretty big sign that Derek Ansley is someone that he trusts, someone who knows the system, someone who he believes will do well coaching our defensive backs. So look at how the defensive backs of Alabama play this year. Derek Ansley might be the cause for their improvement or dip or a combination of other factors. So those are 4 staff members that could impact Alabama and USC this year, but more specifically in this first game of the year in Texas as the Crimson Tide take on the USC Trojans. If you guys know about any more subtle or small changes or any other staff members that's shaking up for Alabama or USC, let me know. USC fans, Alabama fans, drop it in the comment section. Please share the video, comment on it, and let me know what you think. Thanks for paying attention, guys.